Center, just a couple of deep breaths. Knowing that there is a power and presence that is life, that is over, under, around, and within each one of us. The power of wisdom and love and honor and all of the aspects of life and all of nature, and just the power and presence that is ever ready for us to recognize and use it for the good of all. And I know that each one of us is a unique emanation of this power and presence that lives within and operates within each one of us. And so I know today we are blessed by having an opportunity to look at Spirit's presence in crisis, to find what the gifts are in the pandemic or any other disaster or moment of chaos that any person is ever experiencing, that at some point it is possible to recognize that there is a gift in it. There's always a gift because of the power and presence of that one life. And I know that Reverend Leslie is blessed to be the speaker for Spirit today in guiding us in looking at this as a part of the experience of life. And I'm so grateful to know that this is true. I'm so grateful we have the opportunity to spend time together to look deeply into some of these issues and to keep Spirit's power high in our own minds. And so I release my word into the law by saying, and so it is. And now my quote of the day is, come to the edge, he said. We can't, we're afraid, they responded. Come to the edge, he said. We can't, we'll fall, they responded. Come to the edge, he said. And so they came, and he pushed them, and they flew. And I feel like that's a mirror of kind of what we're looking at today. Whoops. And so maybe we could just spend a couple. Oh, this is the other one. This one is the other quote. This is from a book by Terry Pratchett, and Terry Pratchett is a fantasy humor writer, and he has created this world called Discworld. And in this scene, Rincewind is a magician, and Two Flower is a visitor from another place. And so they are standing on the edge of the disc. Don't you understand, snarled Rincewind. We're going over the edge, goddammit. Can't we do anything about it? No. Then I can't see any sense in panicking, said Two Flower calmly. Both of these relate to what I was looking at this week in terms of we seem to face everything either with love or fear. And we've had a lot of fear running around in our culture in the last couple of years. And so I think it's worthwhile to look at the reality on the one hand that there are gifts, and on the other hand that there are some things that we don't control, that we just need to accept. And so anyway, maybe we could spend just a couple of minutes in terms of going within, perhaps to look at how you feel, where you feel you are in that space of between love and fear in relationship to the pandemic. So if you'd like to come back in, and perhaps together we could read April's affirmation. Today, I open to the limitless possibilities available to me through the mind of God within me. My cup is neither half empty or half full, but overflowing with plenty, prosperity, and love. I am protected, guided, and supported every day in every way. For this and so much more, I am so grateful. And so it is. You're muted, Leslie.
Richard, you have a special song for us.
Yes, I do. This is a beautiful song. Of course, Josh Groban had a hit. Everything he sings, he has a hit. Beautiful song called You Raise Me Up. Just close your eyes and get into the feeling of peace. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burden be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. And I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger. Each restless heart beats so imperfectly. But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on on stormy seas. So I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be. Blesses all.
Thank you, Richard. Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Leslie Massopust with One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. And one of the things that I did prior to the pandemic was to participate in a group, the area here where I live, called the Hobby Club. And what we did is we created craft items from materials that were donated mostly by the homeowners. And we made sellable items, and we would have a quote boutique sale 3 times a year. And then we would donate those proceeds to different charities. Well, when COVID happened and they put the lockdown in place, I no longer was able to participate in that creative expression. But what I was able to do was turn to the creation of the costume jewelry that I did. And I do that because to me, it's a way of creating something that's beautiful and that's usable. And above all, it stops time as I know it. Because one of the realizations was that we were all going to have lots of time to do different things on our hands with the lockdown. Now, when I make costume jewelry, for me, it's a connectedness that happens with the higher power. And it takes over and directs that flow of energy. And when I create something, I have to decide on the pattern and the layout and the size and the shapes of the beads and so forth. And that takes time. And I know for any of you who have ever been involved with a project, or in particular, maybe working on the computer, you get in that zone and you lose track of time. And you can start at 10 o'clock and you can turn around and look at the clock the next time and it's 12:30. And you don't even notice that you've had this passage of time. So I think that's one of the blessings that we've had is we have more time to do things that we want to do. So I began to think about this, and it directed me to look up the word meaning of the word bliss on the good old internet. And what it said was bliss is a state of happiness, typically as to be oblivious of everything else. Now just imagine if you were living in the state of bliss all the time. What would that be like for you? And wouldn't it be an absolute awesome trip if we were able to do this? So this has been some of the way that we can experience this time. Now, every time we take a journey, in particular a new journey, there is excitement and a feeling of hesitation. So I'm going to coin a new word for you here. It's called blessitation. And what it is, it's a combination of excitement and hesitation. And to give you an example of that, say you have a new job that you've begun. You're grateful that you have the job. You're excited about it, but you also have an hesitation as to whether or not you're going to be good enough for that job. If it is a good work environment for you, are you going to get along with your fellow workers? And so we have the opportunity to recognize the power of blessing, whatever is before us. Now, one of the core concepts in the science of mind we are dealing with here is oneness. And whenever we hesitate on our path, it's one of embracing separation. But we need only to remember to realign with that oneness, knowing that oneness is our nature and life's nature. And in reality, there really is no such thing as separation, that it only happens in thought only. So there's been a number of gifts that have come forth during these moments of blessedness that we have during COVID-19. And one of the great gifts I feel is the gift of time, as I said, that we haven't experienced in a long time. And what's happened is we have been living in time constraints where I feel there has been a lengthening of physical visitation that we've been doing with family and friends and even neighbors due to the schedules that we've had. And for many that were working from home prior to the pandemic, time was spent on, no, I should say those people that are working at home now, but prior to the pandemic had a workplace that they had to go to. They were spending time on the road, going back and forth to work. And in that time, there were lessons that were being learned. And for some people, it was a lesson of patience, of being in heavy traffic and not moving. And for others, there was the lessons of letting go of the fact that we left dishes in the sink, that we maybe weren't able to get a project finished that we were working on. And it was one of being able to lower the stress in our lives. And with the onset of the COVID crisis, we've had a sudden change in how we operate. And one of the blessings that has happened, I feel, during this period of time is the reaching out of people to each other and one another. It's been the picking up of the telephone, just to call a family member or a friend to say hello. How are you doing? I'm going to the store. Is there anything that you need? Is there something that I can pick up for you? It's also the meeting and greeting of our neighbors, maybe that's never happened before. So it's a genuine caring for each other that has happened. And nobody has been able to escape the COVID pandemic. Everybody has been part of that. So this is part of our lives. But that is part of how God treats us. It's always there. It's always supporting us. It knows what it is that we want, and it takes care of it. And if you think about the great blessing too of the people who have put together the food boxes and taken the time and help handing those out to people who have lost jobs or no longer have income to work with. That's just a demonstration of how God always supports us. And we in turn are turning around and then supporting others during this period of time greater than we've seen in a long, long time. Another blessing that I think has happened during the pandemic is something that we have learned. And this is especially true with school children, I think. And it's being able to have that one-to-one heart contact with other people. And it's not just with the school children, it's with all of us. And I think the social distancing sometimes has prevented that. Now, when a child starts school, he starts school on a feeling level because the logical part of a child does not even start to develop until he is age 6. And then it develops as he goes along. And when he's at home, that's the only environment he has to be able to feel that one-to-one contact. Well, we all have this heart center, and this heart center beats and creates an energy field. And that energy field goes out 3 foot from us. So when you have a child in a classroom, he's got that energy center that's extending out 3 foot. Even if you have a 6 foot social distancing, that other child has its energy projection that's coming out 3 foot. That's 6 foot. And what happens is when these two connect, you get a coherence that takes place. And the research shows that coherence improves your immune system, it decreases stress, it helps with your hormones, it improves heart health, and promotes overall wellness. Well, I think that one of the things that's been learned is this is needed in each of our lives. Now, another thing that's come forth during this period of time is telemedicine. Now, telemedicine was introduced by my healthcare provider even prior to the pandemic happening. They were having people sign into it so that it could be used. And what this means is you no longer have to make the trek to the doctor's office, that you can get medical attention right from the comfort of your home. And it also means you don't have to wait till 12 o'clock for emergency care to open, that you have it immediately available to you, or almost immediately. You still have to make an appointment. And it's been an adjustment on the part of the medical establishment to work with this also. It also saves on the gasoline and the wear and the tear of your vehicles, you know, and it has cut down on accidents that have happened on the freeways. But what you need to know is telemedicine really is not new. I became acquainted with telemedicine in 1993 when I was living in Kansas, where some of the small towns back there, you may only have a couple of hundred people, and there's not enough of a population to have a full-time doctor. And you often have to drive 45 minutes or an hour to the town that would have a doctor or even a hospital. But thanks to fiber optics at that time, telemedicine was made available to those people who were in that situation. And one of the great things that has happened with telemedicine now is that you can get help not only for physical ailments that are taking place, but also for psychological health, which is very much needed by a lot of people during this period of time with depression that has happened, that's with stress that has happened, and with the fact that some people have problems adjusting to our current times and the situation. All I can say is thank goodness we have telemedicine on a broader spectrum. I ran across an article in one of the newspapers that I was reading called The Powerful Effects of Mental Toughness. And this is something that proved the article is in its infancy. They found that those people who scored higher in mental toughness reported lower levels of depression, anxiety, and then stress. And to improve your mental toughness, you practice the follow and see if any of it sounds familiar. Relaxation, positive thinking, goal setting, self-motivation, and you'll do all of this through daily affirmations, setting achievable goals, and also by making sure that you set aside time for meditation or deep breathing exercises. Right up our alley, isn't it? Yeah. Research has also shown that anytime you have trauma in your life, you have a separation or a parting away from your centered self. One of the reasons that you want to maintain centered self as much as possible is because it has 8 strengths that are beneficial to you. And those strengths are confidence, calm, curious, clear, compassion, creative, courageous, and connected. And without even knowing about these strengths, we, with what we practice in science of mind, have these benefits available to us all of the time. But it shows that there is more, even more of a closing that's taking place between science and spirituality. One of the panics that happened right at the beginning of the lockdown was the shortage of toilet paper. And what we know in psychology today, that there are 14 labels of things that happen the way we act that take over when we are in crisis situations. 2 of those labels showed up with the shortage of the toilet paper. One was a label that they call stockpiler. Now, unfortunately, the stockpiler feels that there's never enough. But what the stockpiler does is always prepares for crisis. So that's what the stockpilers did. The pandemic hit. It hit pretty fast. You could see it coming on gradually, but all of a sudden they got to thinking about things that they might be short of in their household. And they went and they got it. Now, Jim has a close friend that falls under this title of stockpiler. And it's sometimes funny to watch. Most of us would go to the store and get what we need, and we'd probably get one of them. But if one of them's okay, 2 is better. If 2 is good, he always buys 3. So if you ever want anything, you go and see him, because chances are he has it in his supply. And the second label that showed up, they call paranoiac, and that's the person who's paranoid, and they always create the worst scenario. They have lively imaginations and magical thinking that creates lots of fear. Now, the more we are able to learn about ourselves, the more we're able to work with it and work with it to our advantage. Now, the amazing solution to all of these labels that kick in was surprise, 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 turning to the centered self. Now, if you've ever had a situation where you have something that you want to get done and it's not working out, one of these labels has probably kicked in and has taken over. And what you need to do is turn to that centered self and have it resolved. Turn around, you can see what it is, and you might be able to say, oh, I know why I got all of those supplies. It's the stockpiler part of me kicked in. And since I know that this is one of my crisis parts, and they call them in the psychological field working parts. It's a new psychology called family integrated systems. And you say, okay, that part kicked in, so I know that. So I know when it starts to happen again, to stop it, to turn to that centered self and know that this is what I'm doing. And I need to take a look at why this is happening and what I can do to be able to change it. Now, Raymond Charles Barker, in summing up his book, The Power of Decision, said, you are a creator, creating creation. You are infinite possibility. You will never know the full greatness that you are. So God always gives us the answers. And I think it's remarkable to watch the medical establishment come together in the creation of the COVID vaccine, especially since the higher ups said, you will never be able to create this by the end of the year and get it in place. And that's exactly what they did. The scientific minds came together, not maybe even one pharmaceutical establishment, but another one, and being able to get out there what it is to help control the COVID-19. Yeah. So it was like, as Barker said in the chapter he wrote on deciding to be happy in the power of decision, it says, your greatest hunger is for ideas. These new ideas that you want, need, and must have are in your mind. Declare that they are there and watch them happen to you. We've learned many things about ourselves during the past 14 months. And on the lighter side here, one of the things that I thought, because I never got my house thoroughly cleaned, was that I didn't have the time to do it. Well, guess what? I found out that that was not the reason. And I'm sure many of you may be able to relate to that. Also, for many people, they realized that they needed to try on their jeans at least once a week. And the reason for this was that pajamas will lead you to believe that all is well in the kingdom. Okay. And for all of you ladies who are at home and you're not seeing anyone, guess what? You don't have to put makeup on anymore. Or you guys, you don't need to shave. And in particular, we don't have to put on lipstick anymore that never stays on anyway, because the mask is going to be covering our face. Okay. So the blessings of COVID have been many. They're all around us. So next time you see gloom and doom, try to take a look and see if you can see the blessings in it. But one of the things that I've come to realize is that we are the greatest blessing that's out there. We, the people, in the way that we support each other, we help each other, we remind each other about what it is that we can do to keep on keeping on, the spirituality that we've been able to share during this period of time, so that it makes it easier for us. And we've all grown as a result of this. We've had great spiritual blessings that have been shared. And also during this period of time, we've had more practice in our oneness with this higher power. I'm going to end this today with a prayer from Ernest Holmes. And I have this as a quote to show you. You might want to say it along with me. And it's from his book, This Thing Called Life. It says, I know that God is within me. I know that the Spirit within me is perfect. I enter into its peace and am secure in its protection. The unerring judgment of the divine intelligence directs my way, and so it is. Now is the time for our spiritual sharing that we call donations. And let me okay. And this is a spiritual practice that we do. And these are the different ways that we can give. We can give it through Venmo, or you can do it through Tidely, or you can send a check to the assistant treasurer, Jim Massopust. And you make out the check to, of course, to One Heart, One Mind, like that. So we will now bring up our sacred giving affirmation. And let's say this together. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and love of God. As it flows from me, it uplifts and advances all life, including mine. I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful, and so it is. Thank you. So for announcements, we are not going to have the Metaphysical 12-step presentation on Monday due to the fact that Michelle is out of town and visiting with her daughter and her grandchildren. And we know she's having a fantastic time and a respite. We are going to have the Tuesday evening spiritual inoculation. And what I'm going to be presenting, it's called Healing Visualizations Through Creative Imagery. And this is a book by Dr. Gerald Epstein, who is a psychiatrist who has put together this program and will tell us how and some of the characteristics that we need to do when we're practicing imagery. And then the book is full of different imagery. The longest one is 5 minutes. The majority of them are about 1 to 3 minutes that you do 3 times a day. We're going to be talking about that. And then Wednesday is a continuation of Maureen's book that she's covering. So Maureen, you want to tell us what's going to go on Wednesday night?
Yes, we're going to continue with the book by Dennis Merritt Jones. It's called The Art of Uncertainty. And a lot of it is, we're going to be doing some processes, a little visualization. And we've been on this theme, which was appropriate for one of your quotes. You go to the edge of the nest and you lean into it, lean into that new life and that new creation. We're going to be talking about chapters 4, 5, and 6, which talk about when to let go, potentiality, and chapter 6 is the yes factor. So I welcome all of you. It's about an hour, and just bring your visualization tools, your mind. Thanks. Oh, one more thing. I wanted to thank everyone for the treatments, the prayers and treatments I received this last week. I attracted into my life a wonderful ophthalmologist surgeon, and she did a procedure on my right eye, and I have totally regained my perfect vision.
Yay,
I'm
treatment
so
works.
thank you. God. It's wonderful. I'm very blessed.
Okay. Both of those presentations take place at 6 o'clock on Zoom, and you are sent out the links on that. Talking about treatment, it is possible for you to have a spiritual mind treatment anytime after the service. And what you do is you go into chat, you let the hostess know that you would like to have treatment. If you know who you would like to be working with that's present on Zoom at that time, you let them know. And that person places you into a room. It's like a private room where you only see the two of each other. You can speak, but nobody else can. So take advantage of that. Also, all of our practitioners are listed on the newsletter for you to give them a call. Are there any other announcements? Oh, okay. Richard. Oh, I'm sorry. Rob is our person that's scheduled to give the benediction.
Right. Yeah, like you said, Leslie, surprise, surprise, surprise. Hey, this is a great opportunity to just breathe in the magnificence of God and the magnificence of the service we have just held. Leslie has done a wonderful job, and I am so grateful for what we have experienced here, for what we have experienced in the form of the camaraderie and the companionship we provide for each other, for the community that we have created such that we can know together the magnificence of God, the wonder of God, and how we can find God in everything, even a pandemic situation. It is just a delightful universe to live in. I thank God that this is so. I release my word and together we say. And so it is.
Oh, yes. Okay. So Richard, if you would lead us in our closing song.
Will do. Okay, we'll do this twice. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
I just wanted to say, I picked the song You Lift Me Up. I requested that Richard play that song because I feel that's what our higher power does for us and that each of us does for each other. And we are so very, very blessed to be able to have this group and to be able to join together and participate in this philosophy we call the science of mind. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share